In the 1930s, the world was in a shambles. Europe was sliding down the slope toward a major war. The world economy collapsed. There was social ferment in Europe and Asia, and many countries were in the throes of political change. In those turbulent times, Ed Nolasco was a young man who was aware of what was happening in the world. His readings in high school had led him to Pope Pius XI's 1937 encyclical, which exhorted the clergy to go to the working man, especially where he is poor. This made a deep impression on Ed. The seeds of what would be his lifelong commitment to social justice were nurtured at the Ateneo de Manila University, when Father Joseph Mulry, S.J., a social crusader, became his teacher in Latin. He would be one of the greatest influences in his life. His college education was interrupted by World War II, where he, along with 33 other Ateneo ROTC cadets, volunteered to fight.
I looked up to Ed because he was quite a guy. He was one of the very generous Atenistas. ROTC pa lamang sila, but they volunteered to fight in Bataan, and he fought in Bataan, and he walked the death march, and he was a guerrillero in Mindanao.
Ed returned to Ateneo after the war and became a member of the Social Order Club under Father Walter Hogan, S.J. The organization was founded to interest students in trade unionism, and the post-war years were restless years for the labor sector. By then, he was working in Suburban Theaters Incorporated, where he was supervising the operation of 8 movie houses. He had no problems with management, but the call of Father Mulry to work with the poor kept coming back to him. It was at this time that Ed Nolasco decided to become a labor organizer. The first union Nolasco organized was the Cinema Workers Union of the Philippines, and for his work there, he was named Most Outstanding Labor Leader in 1957. In June of 1950, the Federation of Free Workers, or FFW, was formed. Juan Tan was elected president, and Edmundo Nolasco, executive vice president. The FFW was envisioned to be a Catholic trade union that was free from government control, free from company domination, free from racketeers, and free from communists. The FFW grew to become one of the country's leading labor federations and one of the most militant. It organized workers from Luzon to Mindanao. In 1950, the FFW decided to take on a dangerous mission: to clean up the Manila waterfront by abolishing the corrupt Cabo system.
After Pepsi Cola, Father Hogan decided to really organize the waterfront. The waterfront was the most sensitive area ng araw sa labor because lahat yung mga gangsters, mga corrupt doon sa waterfront. And everybody was making money out of the waterfront. Nahirapan kami mag-organize nga sapagkat di kami maintindihan ng mga tao. Basta importante sa amin yung Ingles. Akala namin pag kami nag-Ingles, masisidlak ito mga tao. So, we even use Latin during the... Can you beat that? Using Latin.
It was at the waterfront that once metal was tested, and Nolasco showed everyone what he was made of when their newly formed union came face to face with the one they had replaced.
That's one thing I have to say about Ed. You know, I have not, in all my life, I have not found anyone who was as principled and as courageous as Ed Nolasco. It was absolutely... The courage of that man was just unbelievable. And that was demonstrated the first day we were supposed to go into the waterfront with the union, to bring our union. And the UOEF tough guys blocked the way with clubs and knives, and they were blocking the way. And so we were supposed to go in. I tell you, Ed Nolasco showed absolutely no hesitation. You know, he was just there, and it was sort of dramatic, you know, sugod mga kapatid, you know, that sort of thing. It was just just amazing.
Nolasco was also active in labor legislation and was instrumental in the campaign for the passage of the Industrial Peace Act, which the FFW initiated. After leaving the FFW, Nolasco went on to set up the Industrial Unions Congress, where he served as its national president for 10 years. He continued organizing and educating workers well into the period of martial law, which he actively opposed, and into the 1980s until the early 1990s. Nolasco's journey has been long and difficult, but he stayed the course for the sake of the Filipino workers.
Kasi kung titingnan mo yung buhay niya, maski yung pamilya niya, no, merong isang nivel ng literal na paglalakbay. Pero yung paglalakbay na palagi ko mas mahalaga, yung paglalakbay ng iba't ibang anyo at pagpapalalim ng kanyang pagtataya para sa bayan. Pero isa pang palagi ko kasama dun sa pagkahuwaran, yung pagkaugat sa pamilya. Magugulat ka, nagpalaki ng 8 anak, sahod ng isang unionista. Pero ang huli, no, na palagi kong napakahalaga, no, yung pagkaugat sa pananampalataya. At nakikita mo na yung ginagawa niya, nakaugat sa tawag ng pananampalataya. Ang inspirasyon ang gagaling sa Ebanghelyo at Catholic social teaching.
Nolasco had seen many labor leaders become rich, but for him, enriching himself from labor organizing was never an option.
Di mo maaari paglingkuran ng sabay ang Diyos at kayamanan, di ba? Cannot serve both bad and same time. There was one time, I tell you, I was so broke that I didn't have a single money in my pocket. So, my nearest local was in 50 kilometers from here. So, pumunta ko doon to collect. Sabi nila sa akin, attorney, pasensya ka na, wala na kami pera. Kung gusto mo, bibigyan na lang namin kayo ng nyug. So, I nearly got killed. Sapagkat yung nyug, very heavy. Biro mo, sakay mo pa yan sa bus and all that. So, those are the hazards of the trade. Kung hindi sa kanya, wala ka. Wala.
Makarinig ng tawag ng Panginoon at tumugon with everything you've got. To go like a cannonball, no? Whatever happens, or like, this is what you're calling me to be, whether up or down, this is what I'll be. I like this book that I'm reading now. It's a novelist by Mary Russell. She calls this Men with a Mission. She calls them, all right, inspired persistence. I like that inspired persistence. It is persistent and it is inspired. It is the quality that I think produces poets and martyrs and saints. Another word for it is lux in Domino. And when I think of that, I think of Ed. Because Ed is like that. He's shot like a cannonball. What does it mean to believe in a call? What does it mean to sacrifice for what you believe in? Especially for Atenistas. Because all of us want the easy life afterwards. As Father Reuter says, don't go where the money is. Sometimes that's not where happiness is. But go where you're needed. There you are needed. There you will find real joy. There you will find peace. There you will find meaning in life. And Ed was like that. Inspired persistence. Lux in Domino.